Today we have Dee Motley from the Word Church in Cleveland, Ohio. She's a dear friend of ours, and I just want to thank her for coming. So thank you, Dee, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Now, normally I wouldn't tell a personal story, but I'm going to. I remember my wife picked me up in the Upper Peninsula after I'd been incarcerated, and it was a long drive home, and we stopped at a restaurant. And of course, to her, it was just normal, and I was really nervous about stepping foot into a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I did, and she took good care of me, set me down, but I'm just looking, I'm hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
When I look back, I know what I was doing. I didn't know at the time,
Yes.
but this is how I figured out that I was having difficulty.
Yeah.
Is that when they gave me the menu, I didn't know what to do with it.
Yes.
I honestly didn't know what to do with it. And you think, what just order a cheeseburger or something. There's so many pictures and
Yeah.
choices and items on there. I just picked something. And then when the food came,
Mm-hmm.
I never touched the knife.
Yeah.
I never touched it. My wife reflected back and I said, "You never touched the knife when we got home. How come you never used the knife? How come you spreading your peanut butter with a spoon?"
Yep.
And I did. It wasn't even conscious that I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and now that I know better, and
Yeah.
I've seen what happens, is that I was at the beginnings of what I would consider institutionalization.
Yeah.
That just these little things. I hadn't had a knife. You can't have a knife in prison.
You can't have a knife. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to.
You can have a spork.
Yeah.
Of course, people are saying, "Well, what's a spork?"
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, but there's things that people in popular society don't quite understand. So I think it's important when we talk about reentry
Mhm.
that we bring awareness to the community, we bring awareness to the families who are receiving their loved ones back home. There's a lot of awareness that needs to take place. And I think one of the greatest places that even the departments of corrections are really looking for relationships with our churches, religious institutions, faith-based programs, so that we can embrace the individuals that are in prison, those that are coming home, and perhaps those that have been home for a while, maybe still on supervision and struggling to try to find their balance. I worked with a guy that was afraid to cross the street because he had been gone so long. The traffic patterns changed, and he didn't know how to navigate crossing the street without a guard or someone there to show him how these street lights work, and cars didn't drive as fast back then as they do now. So, who could understand his new language, his new normal, So I think we need to bring a lot of awareness to churches.
Right.
Because a lot of times churches don't understand.
Yeah, and of course you say that, and I say, well, for many churches, well, guess what? They're already there.
Yeah.
They're just being quiet because they struggle even getting across the street. They don't want to cross the street. They're afraid to cross the street. They don't want to raise their head up because they don't want people to know.
No, you're right.
They're ashamed.
Right.
And everything that goes with that.
You're right. But one of the best places we would think for an individual who's struggling with the shame of incarceration, or the shame of the thing that I did, it should be, the church there that lend that support to help people understand who they are in Christ, and that as Christ forgives, so can we. And so if we can do that, then we can help people overcome the shame, right? We can help throw that shame into the sea of forgetfulness. We can help that individual become whole again over time. But I think we need the awareness in the church to identify that person, or a safe space like we have at the Word Church, right? The pastor will see someone come home from prison and say, send them over to Dorella, right? Or send them over to the prison and reentry ministry.
She's okay.
She's okay, right?
Right.
Because we have a safe space to have that conversation. And then you have to know how to have the conversation. So it's a lot of awareness and training,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being close enough to the problem to formulate a response or an answer. We
Right.
call that proximity. So
Yeah.
thank you, Brian Stevenson. I appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
But if we're not proximate, if we're not close enough to the problem, one, we don't know it exists.
Well, you don't,
Okay.
you don't gain permission.
No, correct,
Mhm.
correct. So permission, though, gaining permission. So
But what do I mean by gaining
yeah,
permission?
Yeah.
Well, because if you're not present, if you're not available,
Mhm.
how can you develop trust
Mhm.
and rapport, or even know what the issue is, to allow that person, that man or woman, to open up to you? So I call that getting permission,
Getting permission.
to get within them,
Yeah.
for them to share about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for unpacking that, though. You know, because you really need a person's buy-in,
Yeah.
and you can't get it without them knowing you, liking you,
Yeah.
and trusting you. You got to do that, but that takes time.
Well, and part of the other challenge always is that unless you're there, proximate, repeat, you know, like I often say, unless you're faithful and available,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
you only get from a person what they tell you,
Yeah.
and that's all you'll know.
Yep.
But if you journey with that person, they tell you, it comes out more and more and more until you really get to the heart
Yeah.
of what is driving that person, or what that person needs,
Yeah.
or what their hopes and dreams are, and
Yeah.
that's when you can start.
I agree with you. That journey is I
Mhm.
love the word journey. You know, so our team is in female and male prisons in Ohio, and we're in with the character development program for 40 weeks, right? And people ask us sometimes, "Oh my God, that's like a year." Well, yeah, yeah. But when you look at it in relationship to 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, was 40 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But in that time, we're able to help an individual tap into some character traits
Mm-hmm.
that perhaps needs a little tune-up, right?
Mm.
Because of the symbiotic nature of the program, it helps
A
the
tune-up
inmate.
or a reminder.
Yes. Okay. Both. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able to, understand what certain biblical principles are, like patience
Mhm.
or hope, humility, trust,
Perseverance.
perseverance.
Mhm.
Understand the characteristics of those principles, and then the benefits of the application of them,
Mhm.
right? Along with the self-evaluation, which doesn't cause a challenge or create a challenge or a conflict. So when an individual enrolls in the process, then they themselves take ownership of the process. It's an
Mhm.
amazing thing. And so that transformation happens over time,
Mhm.
which is something that's key, especially for individuals that, well, I can't say especially, I think it's key for everyone. So those that we work with that are in prison for life have an opportunity to do their time differently.
Mm.
I think at a higher level of consciousness, maybe start programming, maybe start becoming facilitators of care
Becoming a
development.
leader.
Become a leader. And those that
A
are
mentor.
coming home to the same thing.
Mhm.
Become leaders, develop different habits,
Mhm.
right? And then habits, thoughts become habits, and habits become your reality. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what we want them to do.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we want ourselves to do.
Mhm.
And as Christ followers, I think once we get it, then we can share it with
Mhm.
others, especially those that live in the margins as a result of incarceration.
Well, that's, in fact, I think you mentioned it this morning, when they see our light,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's really the light of Jesus that
Exactly.
they're seeing, because we are the reflection
Yeah.
of who we serve.
Mhm. Exactly.
And that's our goal for all that we come in
Yeah.
contact with.
Yeah. So I think when you say why the prisoner,
Mm.
I think for us it's evident.
Mm.
For us it's become a priority.
Yeah, it has become a priority, and it's, for me, our stories are a little different how we got here.
Mhm.
but we both kind of landed in the same place.
Yeah.
We do it a little differently, we
Yeah.
landed in the same place. But I think the key piece that we both landed here is because we got close to it.
Yeah, exactly.
As we say here, you know, once you get close to the prisoner, you understand the plight of the prisoner.
Exactly.
And you start to look at it in a different way.
Exactly.
Never to justify what has occurred that brought them to prison, ever to justify it,
Yeah.
but to say, okay, that's that, but we need to, I care more about where you're going,
Yeah.
and to show up and say, we're gonna go on a journey together.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it takes a commitment on the part of the volunteer
Mhm.
going in, right? Volunteers, I believe, there's certain things about prison culture that volunteers should know,
Mm.
and that takes training. It really does.
Mhm.
And also, the reason we're in for 40 weeks, we don't have to be, but the reason we're there is because we're committed. And people in prison appreciate a higher level of commitment.
Mhm.
Because trust is an issue with a lot of people. We serve more men than we do women because there's just more men in prison than there are women in Ohio,
It's 9 to 1 typically.
typically. And so men value trust.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Men value trust. And so when they see that, you know, what we do, our passion permeates through the prison. So now we have a waiting list, right, of men in different specialized units wanting to be a part of our program in 2020, right?
Looking ahead.
Looking ahead. And so a lot of times being a part of some programs, well, this one, I guess is becoming merit-based, you know what I mean? Because I think people strive not to get in trouble, not to get tickets, not to get, you know. So I'm looking forward to the future of the commitment through the program that we do. And what really helps us too is Crossroads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, the beautiful thing about Crossroads is that, you know, for those that we're serving, those that are incarcerated, men and women, one of the beautiful things about the ministry is that we will keep showing up. As long as you allow us to come to you, we will keep showing up. Yeah. And we will journey with you for years if that's what you would like to do.
Yeah.
You know, bringing the hope, bringing the encouragement, bringing relationship, you know, and we'll be there.
I love it. You know, it gives Crossroads gives our volunteers an avenue to share the love of God and hope through Bible study and letters of encouragement.
Letters of encouragement.
It's amazing.
Yeah. You know, sometimes like a letter. I was just telling you this morning, I was looking in my mailbox, you know, I thought, I get two different kinds of letters in here. But I've really, you know, especially the letters of encouragement that come to me, the ones that are handwritten, they want me to, they thank me for this, and they're really not thanking me. I got to go around and thank them because I'm not the one hardly doing anything here, you know. But they're thanking us as an organization. They'll thank, you know, for this, for that. And just keep it up. God bless you.
Yep.
And it's all in their handwriting.
It's all in the handwriting.
And I look at that and thought, oh my gosh. I don't throw any of them away. They're all right there.
I have a bin. I have a bin
right
too,
there.
full of letters from people around the country, you know, who and some of them want to, they want to know more about God, right? They know they're writing a church, so they want to know more about God. They want to know more about Christ. They want to know more about forgiveness, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
And I always let them know that there is a program that I think would be helpful, and if it's something you're interested in, and I give them a description, then write me back and let me know. But that ask for the letter to write, you know, the letter that they're writing me back is just a tool, right, to see if they'll respond. And if they do, I know I have an opportunity to build rapport with them. Right. And so I send them the information, and they contact Crossroads. But I always want to know, when you get your first lesson, please let me know. And most times I have those conversations with people I know that'll be home within a couple of years. And so those letters, that relationship, you know, builds through the letter, and they let me know. I just got a letter the other day, you know, from a gentleman in prison in Ohio. Let me know he just got his first lesson, just completed it, and he's sending it out the same day he's sending me my letter, you know. So I really love sharing that with their staff and volunteers this morning to let them know the value of what you guys do here is amazing, and to allow us as volunteers in churches around the United States to be a part of that. So our reach is national now.
Yeah, it's huge, you know. And so many people, you know, when we think about it, we think about the institutionalization, you know, so much of that is that they're just cut off. They're just cut off, you know, that day that door shuts. So many, they're just cut off from family, they're cut off from their, you know, any support system. And then so when we show up with a letter, that letter may be the only communication, the only word of encouragement they hear for, you know, until the next letter
You're
comes.
Right. You're right.
Because not everybody can be part of a program like you.
That's right.
Most people can't.
That's right.
And so, so we're able to show up. Let's shift gears just a second here.
Sure.
Because I want to talk about the church. You know, both you and I, for me, you know, when I talk about the church, I always come from it from the awareness that the church really saved my life, was a part of what saved my life. Not only for my, you know, giving my life to Christ, you know, for my salvation. But I sit here today, I say it saved my life. It saved my family, it saved. So I have my respect and love for the church runs deep. And I know it does for you as well. We have the utmost respect for the church. So when we talk about the prisoner, we talked a little bit about it earlier, and and what does that mean for the church as a whole? I guess from your perspective, what does that mean from the church? What are some of the because we know, I mean, we're told that, you know, Jesus came to free the oppressed. You know, and then you reference Matthew 25, we got Hebrews 13. You know, that we're to remember the prisoners though we are with them. And those are some to me, are some very clear mandates. I mean, there's no beating around the bush on them.
That's right.
And, you know, yet we as the church struggle, I think, I'm saying it well, I think, is that we as the church struggle when we start talking about the prisoner, because it comes with a package. The term prisoner comes with a package. And so just give me some thoughts on what you think about the church and the prisoner, and what does it mean when they come together?
Well, I think it means in one word, relationship. In one word. Because if you don't have it, then, you know, things fall through the cracks. I have a relationship with God through Christ. I have a relationship. So I think churches, you know, and I know our church is relationship centered. And we have to approach everything that we do in ministry. I can speak for our church on that. It has to be relationship centered. It has to be aligned with Christ, relationship with humanity, and it has to be relationship centered. In a word, relationship. So in a relationship, you know, there's certain things that have to happen in order for you to have one, build one.
It's not one way.
It just doesn't come automatic, right? So we were talking before about the rapport. Without that, I can't get to know you, and I can't get to like you, and I can't get to trust you. So those three things, I believe, are key to building a relationship. Now, to sustain it, we need consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And so for churches, I think it's important to start having the conversation about what's going on in the areas of different churches, right? What we might have discovered.
Mm-hmm.
That
So you're kind of saying that kind of get to start with the why.
start with the why.
Yeah, start with the why.
Start with the why. But, not all churches have that why.
Mm.
I just want to know why not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why
But
not?
we always have to see. You and I always have to remember about our lens that we
Yes.
carry a lens.
Yes, we have to be a little
Yeah.
aware of that,
Yeah,
right?
we gotta always be aware about how we looking at things.
But I also believe we have to be bold,
Mhm.
okay? And I don't have a problem doing that. I'm always respectful as much as I
Mm-hmm.
it can be. I just want to know if it's an area of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's an area of interest, I'm available to explore what that could look like.
Right. Yeah, because you and I've been in many churches. We've talked to many churches. Sometimes it's what I sense is that it's just hard. So when you start thinking about the prisoner, the homeless person, the real messy people, the
Yeah.
people that come with messy packages. So often the church just doesn't know what to do with it when this person shows up, or there's a problem in the community. So where's our place in this? Where's our place in the criminal justice system?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a place that we want to be? Is it a place that we should be?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I was getting out of prison and I showed up at their doorstep, with all this stuff behind me that I'm carrying? It's difficult for the church.
Yeah, it is. It is. I can see it's difficult for the church, but it's difficult for a lot of organizations.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people. It's difficult for families. It's just difficult. But it's time to have a conversation, and I believe that it's time now, because we have so many people that we didn't think would go to prison and jail and experience
Mm-hmm.
criminal justice system that are doing that now. I mean, they're going, and so
Well, our prisons are packed.
But we also have people in leadership positions that are experiencing incarceration now that we
Mhm.
never thought.
Yeah, just look at the recent news.
Just look at the news. So that being the case, it means anybody can go at any time. We need to be prepared.
Mhm.
And so how do we prepare ourselves, right, is a good question.
Yeah, well, and to put it into context, you say that, but, statistically, it's like 65 million people have had an intersection with the criminal justice system. And so if we really look at it from the church's perspective, so 65 million, I think that adds up to 1 out of 4 have had of Americans have had an intersection with the criminal justice
In
system.
some form or fashion.
Well, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a quarter of the people
Yeah.
that we as the church, in my opinion, we need to pay attention.
So that's a great question, and I feel that the church needs to take the first step by asking their congregation, like a survey, perhaps, asking whether or not individuals in their congregation have experienced
Incarceration.
certain aspects of criminal justice involvement. So whether it's incarceration or facing some type of penalty, or I asked the congregation, our congregation, do you have a child support issue?
Right.
Do you have are you having a hard time finding a job? Do you have a job? What kind of job are you looking for? Is the criminal justice system in the way of you getting a job or licensure? So I would know there are some issues there, problems there that I can recognize, and then perhaps I can create a response to the problem that I see. But first you have to
become aware.
You got to become aware
What's right
of what's
in,
going on.
what's already in the house.
What's in the house.
What's in the house
Right.
already. Because so often people are just quiet about it.
Exactly. But they'll fill out a questionnaire, right? And you don't need anyone's name for that. It could be anonymous. But I think churches need to know the response, the percentage of individuals that respond to the questionnaire, what their response is to those questions. And they can speak specifically to the needs that the persons have by engaging or having, relationships with outside agencies that they can create a referral relationship with, or perhaps have the agencies come in to the church to respond to that
as
question.
I said, one of the key people in your community who's willing to have that discussion is parole and probation.
Exactly.
Say, well, what does this mean for our community? And just
You need
ask them
help.
questions, and you become aware.
Exactly.
And then hopefully that prompts the next step to say, well, should we be stepping into that?
Exactly. That's how I created our prison and reentry ministry. I
Mhm.
wanted to know from the congregation and from our leadership, and so I gave surveys to both to find out where the issues were, where the problems were. And then once I gathered that data and analyzed it, then I partnered with outside agencies and brought them in, and still bring them in as guest speakers to be able to address certain issues that the individuals have. So I think that's the first step, to find out what's going on in the congregation.
That's good, Dee. So thank you. We've got to wrap up.
You're welcome.
Always awesome to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Thanks.
Great time. Great time.
Thanks.
You're welcome.